Hello everybody, this is Caleb Wright, aka the Urban Free Thinker, and today we're going to talk about Kanye West and his pro-Trump rant. But before we get into it, as always, I like to let y'all know I am a free thinker. A free thinker is a person who forms opinions using reason and rational inquiry, and someone who has rejected dogma. Dogma being a set of normalities or rules placed on society by authority, and in this particular case, dealing with Kanye West, it's going to be the media. You know, the things that they have to say about him and Trump and things like that. Now, this is not a pro-Trump rant within itself. This is free thinkers' observation of this particular situation. So, we all love Kanye at some point. There's a lot of people who find reasons to hate Kanye over the past 15 years that he's been out. However, I've not been one of them, but I can see how everyone has recently, if you were on the Kanye West train, wanting to jump off. The media is putting him through the ringer because of his support for Donald Trump. Now, why is that? I'm not here to get into why, but what I am here to get into is, hopefully, let's really look at Kanye West and what he had to say on SNL the other night. Let me start off by saying, Ariana Grande was planned to perform at Saturday Night Live this past weekend on September 29th, and she was not able to make it. She canceled, and Kanye West filled in her stead. Kanye West gave an awesome performance. He actually did 3 songs instead of 2, which is the normal for SNL. However, people are not talking about his performance at all. People are actually talking more about his rant toward the end that was cut short by SNL staff simply because the credits were running when he was saying all this. They come on and say, everybody, this is Saturday Night Live, everybody good night or whatever. They didn't get a chance to do all that. They actually had to run the credits and cut Kanye off because Kanye had a lot to say. I guess this is pretty heavy on his brother's heart. Let's look at some of the things that, first off, Kanye West decided to address on stage at Saturday night. So, we all know Kanye West has Yandhi, the new album coming out. And anytime we can look at the shenanigans going on, not just with Kanye, but with a lot of people, we want to look and see what kind of projects or what type of things they have going on. That's just because that's the way the media works. It's all a big soap opera. So, and don't act like Kanye's in it by himself. If he said this or did this and nobody out talked about it, this wouldn't be big at all, and Yandhi would be a flop. But everybody's talking about it. Why? Because people who have y'all talking about Kanye also have vested interest in Kanye's success. So, he has a segment, very short. I've watched many different videos, guys, and not all of them are very clear. I'm hoping that there will be a really clear one put out soon. But he starts in one rant. He talks about the Democratic plot. And what he describes the Democratic plot is the plot to take the fathers out of the home and push welfare. Now, this isn't something that Kanye West has made up. This is actually something that the conscious community, we talk about all the time. That period of time when the Democrats had basically looked to destroy the black home. I mean, if you're not familiar with this, I would definitely suggest you do some of your research. You even have, the first sitcom of a black family, Good Times, which was initially cast and set out to be a show without a father there at all. And Florida Evans, one of her big fights and why she's a big woman in history is because she actually fought to get the JJ Senior or James Evans on the show because she wouldn't do it without, a full black American family. And that was a really big statement for her to do that and put her job and the others online then. And as you know, they ended up killing off James Evans maybe for 4th or 5th season in. But my point of talking about this is simply to say that Kanye West is not making this up. He's not the originator of this idea, of this theory, conspiracy theory, if you will. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's false. It just means that maybe we haven't proved it yet. But I think if we actually look at what these programs have done and the way that they work, that many of us would continue to argue that the goal of it is to break up the home and the family for whatever reason. Now, that's one of the clips that I saw. He started off with that. Now, remember, we're going to look at this with reason and rational inquiry. We can't call the man crazy off of that. I mean, if you are questioning this theory or you want to know more about it, all you simply got to do is Google it. And you'll find out, the Democrats have never really been for black people since the beginning. They are the ones who started KKK. They are the ones who tried to prevent blacks from voting. If they were not voting Democrat, then you could not vote. And somewhere in the mix, it got flipped. And they made it seem as though all of the bad stuff was happening because of the Republicans. I mean, racist and bad stuff. And you know, Democrats even go back as far as before Lincoln. They were fighting to keep slavery. Now, I'm gonna. He talks about love. Kanye West, his whole message is centered around us trying to love more. I'll get into that a little bit later. I will, however, jump into the audience reaction to the first time he introduces, one of the first times in this whole rant that he introduces his idea to try love and not try hate. You know, people can say he's acting crazy because after that he got into people bullying him. The way he got into people bullying him was because he looked at the audience and members were yelling at him and screaming at him. He points out the members. He says, "Look, they yell at me, they boo me," and then he goes further on to say, "In the back, they told me not to wear this hat out there." Of course, he had on a MAGA hat, and I'm pretty sure that there were a number of people that suggested he not wear it just because they didn't want, you know, a spectacle to be made out of this performance. But he chose to wear it anyways. And he says that they bully me. Now, I think that him expressing himself in this way is simply, we're on such a big anti-bully campaign. And a big part of what people say about Trump is that he's a bully. And what we don't realize is a lot of times we as a culture bully people. Men, we bully women in many ways. You can be a man, what we call a soft man, or a pussy, so to speak. I think it's funny because I've heard some people reference the pussy being the one thing that can take a beating, bleed 7 days out of the week and keep going. However, I see it personally all over our culture where, you know, we bully. You know, the right bullying the left, you know, the left bullying the right, whoever's in control, whoever has control of the media or the money is bullying that person. You know, we bully people into losing their jobs. You know, something may happen. There's a number of incidents on the internet where someone has done something that the general public has disagreed with, and there has actually been a call to action for everyone who reads this post or reads that post to call this person's job. This is where they work. Let's call them and get them fired. That is actually a form of bullying in itself. We see how they are bullying Colin Kaepernick and the NFL players who choose to take a knee, and which is, you know, the opposite of what NFL wishes for them to do, because they are protesting police brutality in all types of ways, man. You know, we see the way police react to people like that. We see the way people react to police officers. Bullying is just something that our culture is based upon right now. And yeah, I think that this is an antic. When Kanye West goes into talking about being bullied, he is simply magnifying that, using it in that way, because as a culture we're such an anti-bully campaign, and this is an attempt to communicate his feelings or what he may feel like, what he feels like people may react to. I think that he's right. I mean, we're on an anti-bully campaign in America right now. Bullying's always been around. I think that bullying's made some of the better people, some of the best people in the world exactly who they are. However, I think that bullying has also taken some of the weaker people and caused travesties and tragic things to happen. I'm going to his next point. That was just a side point, but him telling everybody to follow their heart and not their mind. Oh man, this is heavy. Well, this is heavy because as a free thinker, you know, everybody's saying Kanye West is not a free thinker. I don't care to even weigh in on that conversation or not. What I do see is that the media, I mean, if you again have to question that, the media attempts, or not even attempts, the media is incentivized by programming people's mind to buy, act, think, you know, perform in different ways. So they can control your mind. They can control what you like. They can control what you don't like just through suggestive. And we've even seen the CIA and other groups looking into the psychology, a deeper psychology of hypnosis and other ways to control a person's mind. And, you know, right now, I do believe that we as a culture completely checked out mind-wise. And I think that anyone who has an interest in controlling a mind can find many of minds to control. And all I gotta do is pay for some Facebook ads or YouTube ads, however the case may be. TV time ads, or just TV time period. Or I can endorse a certain speaker or a certain show or a certain politician, and I can control the minds of those, because everybody watches television here and everybody's a really big partaker of television and radio programming. Now, Kanye West this is probably the only time I heard him say Trump's name. What he said was that y'all ridicule him in the media a lot, and the way y'all are at that man is not helpful. And he's right. I mean, again, if you look at what the media is doing, it's a form of bullying, and it just so happens to be that Trump is a big enough person, and he's got a lot of money himself. And so what you see is two bullies going at it with each other. And right now, part of Kanye West's whole pump is 90% of the news is liberal, Kanye West says, and 90% of the media and artists and actors only give you one side of the story. It's easy for you to get that one liberal side of the story, and that's exactly what Kanye West was saying about the Trump thing. So everybody, he says, it's not helpful to go at Trump so hard. I mean, listen, it's all over the place. He's done and said some ridiculous things. Trump has, not nearly as ridiculous as some other presidents in the past have said or acted. However, I don't think it is about the year. I think it's about the man in this particular case. If it was someone else like Bernie Sanders or Hillary or something like that, and they had said or done some of these things, then it wouldn't be nearly as bad. However, I will save that opinion for another video. The big positive thing that Kanye West said, this resonates with me most, and it should resonate with everyone most, I think, if we're going to look to approach the world with an open mind, is that we need to have dialogue. He said it a few times, and we can't have dialogue when it's just the one sided of the story. We can't have dialogue when it's just 10% of us, or even in some cases 3% of us, 5% of us who have an unpopular opinion are silenced. I know that this type of discussion is really empowering for some people that I personally don't think should be empowered. We need to have a dialogue where both sides can sit down and talk about the points that they have. We need to have a dialogue where both sides can sit down and work out the agreements and the disagreements. And we saw the Senate and the House not even showing up to come to work because they opposed Obama. I mean, this has been going on forever. It's not just because Trump's here. But we got Kanye West here now saying that we need to have dialogue. And he's 100% right. I don't think that anybody can say he was wrong about that. And if they do say that he's wrong about that, I would challenge them to actually reprogram themselves. One of the more controversial things that Kanye West said was that he says he talks to white people and they say, you're a black man. How could you support Trump? And he's racist. And his response to that was, as a black man in America, if I was concerned about racism, I would have left a long time ago. Hey, I actually got to pause for that one. All right, the reason why I pause for that one is because he's absolutely right. Black people, we can't let ourselves be consumed in racism. The system in the world is built upon it. The only way to beat it and succeed is to act like it's not even there. It's only as powerful as if you believe in it. I'm not saying we don't get blindsided by racism. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying that it hadn't affected people's entire lives. In some case, their mortality. People have been killed based on color. I think that this is 100% something that we should be concerned about when it gets to that point. But when it gets to when all we're talking about is the way someone thinks about us, as long as the way that person thinks doesn't affect my money or my family or anybody else's, and hey, you can have the opinion that you want to have. You can be as racist as you want. Now, the president of the United States being racist, if Donald Trump's racist, he won't be the first. Let's get that right. Okay, I don't see how George W. Bush could not have been called a racist. He seemed like one of the most out of touch, most lacking of culture presidents that we've had in the past 20 or 30 years. His dad seemed the same way. Reagan was the same way. But most of these presidents I would deem are racist. Now, what does that do for us? It does nothing. We've always had racist presidents, and it has held us back and stifled us in many ways. Is Trump's racism going to hold us back or stifle us? I don't think so. In this point, I think that right now, if we focus more on capitalism right now, we would be great, which is what we should be focused on. Actually taking this freedom and building a better society for ourselves and for our loved ones. Now, this one is funny. he's wearing his MAGA hat. He says, he references everyone calling him the sunken place. And the sunken place, if you don't know, it's from the movie Get Out. Great movie. And Kanye West has been deemed as being in the sunken place. Which character on Get Out was in the sunken place when he was hypnotized? So Kanye West is supposedly in the sunken place. And he says, I'm going to show you the sunken place. And he takes his hat off. Briefly, somebody that's not really thinking freely look at him and think he's crazy or he's just on a rant and not really get it. But actually what he's saying is, all right, I'm going to take my hat off and join you guys in the sunken place. You guys are actually the ones in the sunken place, not me. I am actually free of thought. Not saying he's a free thinker, but he's just saying I can do what I want. And he puts the hat back on. When he puts the hat back on, he says, now I'm going to put on my Superman cape. Now what that means is, because he says that no one, because I do what I want to do, you can't tell me what to do. So to me, him wearing the MAGA hat, while at first he may not have been wearing it for the same reason he was wearing it when he first started, I think now he wears it because people tell him that he can't wear that hat. By wearing that hat, he's showing everybody consistently that he can do what he wants to do. And that's his Superman cape. That's his superpower. That's, Kanye West doing what Kanye West does, regardless of what everybody else thinks about it, is the reason why Kanye West is successful. Personally, I will give my opinion on Kanye West's rant. I have given plenty of them, but I'm going to give an overall opinion. Kanye West, if you expect for the world to embrace your message, you are definitely going to have to do it less abrasively. Our culture is not allowing for people to stand out of opposite opinions, especially right now they're looking at the color of your skin and thinks that you're supposed to have a certain opinion. I think that you need to educate people first. Or not, I won't even say first. Before you just come out throwing haymakers and saying these things that you say, abolishing slavery, the 13th Amendment and things like that, which we may not need anymore. I don't see our culture or world ever going back to slavery, not under current rule or, whatever, as long as we're United States of America, we will not go back toward slavery based on culture. Slavery is a whole different thing in this nowadays. But abolishing the 13th Amendment, things like that, I think that you need to educate people first before you start talking like this. And these things will go over a little bit smoother. However, your platform, being on stage in the midst of songs or saying certain things in the middle of short interviews or even interviews where you're not in control of the way that they're going to make you look, it's not a good place to do it. They're making you look crazy. That's the first thing they do. They make everybody who wants to speak out against them look crazy. And that's exactly what they're doing. You're just making a game out of it. They haven't been able to completely disprove this for you. Everybody's enjoying this show and you're selling a lot of records while you do it. However, I do think that you're passionate about the things that you're talking about. And I think that if you want other people to join you in your roles, in order for us to really get behind you, you're going to have to educate the people a little bit better. Use your platform to even big those people who are willing to educate people a little bit better than, or more full time, or maybe that's just not your skill and you know other people that are more skilled at educating people and letting them know about things before you just come out and do them or say them just because you've read or watched or debated or thought through it yourself. However the case may be, doesn't mean that everybody else is going to get it. We do it all day. We do it all the time. I do anyways. So my message to Kanye is just that. Spend your money on and use your platform to educate people. You don't have enough time to do it on a set. TMZ is definitely not the place to do it. I think that will help the cause. Again, this is Caleb Wright, the urban free thinker, and my goal with this is simply just to be a rational voice for the brother in this case and look at some of the things that he was saying in this Trump rant that's getting all this play. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notification on the video. This is my first video and I'm gonna be doing more. Hope you guys like it, and if you do, hit thumbs up button and let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you again. It's Caleb Wright, the urban free thinker. Y'all have a good day.